Okay, introducing Domain 4. The Domain 4 is titled Security Operations, and Domain 4 makes up 28% of the exam in terms of the weighting of the questions. It has 9 objectives, as you can find in the slides that have been shared with you. I also did a primer video talking about what each of these objectives entails on YouTube, and the rest of these videos for Domain 4, I would also put them on YouTube together with a recording of some of the slides that we may not be able to cover during this time because it's a 1 hour slot. I will also do a recording for those ones and I'll put on YouTube as well so that if there's need, you can always go back to this. So our conversation is starting up with developing security baselines. And security baselines are nothing but documents and configuration sets that a company needs to lay out in the beginning to get minimum security requirements met to provide security for that company. Said that way, you would see that every company will start up with some security configurations, and then as they move into more critical operations, they might go back to this base and try to add some stuff on there. So the security baseline is the minimum, but it applies to all devices within the institution. And if there is need to get more robust security, you can basically build on these baselines that have been laid out already. When it comes to security baselines, the general practice that organizations will do is they would look towards industry standards. And in terms of industry standards, you would have what they call the vendors' uh, industry standards as a source. Here, the vendors, that is the device and software manufacturers and commercializers, they usually publish security standards and configuration tools for the products that they have on the market. This is to permit companies use these products with a certain degree of security compliance. Um, a case in point would be that most of these vendors would make sure that you can use built-in tools on Windows like the Active Directory group policy to be able to configure uh, pull configurations together so that you can have some starter security while using their application. Besides vendors, you also have third-party organizations like the Center for Internet Security. What such organization will do is that they will develop a benchmark, and this benchmark is developed by experts in the domain, and then this benchmark usually covers a range of products. And once you're using one of these products, you can turn to this third-party organization's website to get advice on how or on best practices that you can actually implement while using one of these products. Done in this way, with the best practices respected as provided by these third-party organizations, then any organization that is following this will always have at least baseline security or security to a certain degree. What are the benefits when someone decides to go with industry standards? There's a couple of them. The first thing is that security can be a bit overwhelming. If you want to build your own security standards from the ground up, it would take resources, that is the expertise, but it will also take time. This is not something that you want to rush over. You want to have a bunch of security experts sitting and then considering every action that your company is likely to take, and then looking at the repercussions of these actions. And then, based on this, they can bring up controls that, when used with your company practice, will keep the company safe. Because they are doing this, it will take them some time to come to these baselines. But with industry standards, experts know that companies generally face these problems. So they have thought this out already and they've documented them. So all you need to do is grab them and start using. So when you grab the industry standards, you would not have to put in as much time to develop your security as much as when you did not have to use the industry standards. So in such a case, we say it's time saving and thus makes for efficiency. The other thing is these standards, they cut across many industries and developed by one of the finest experts that there are in the sector. And so uh, the standards are generally trusted. So whoever is utilizing these industry standards, as long as you comply with the requirements that the standards go with, then auditors will trust you. Uh, Other people doing business will trust you because you're using these standards, and that makes for credibility. Another benefit that comes with using industry standards is the fact that most of these standards make use of popular frameworks within cybersecurity, like the ISO 27001, like the NIST cybersecurity framework. These frameworks are designed in such a way that they permit scalability and adaptability. What that means is that if your organization grows in size, these frameworks take into consideration that your organization can actually grow in size. And so they, as long as you are operating and being compliant with the best practices that have been highlighted in these frameworks, then whether the number of your devices grow or reduce, you would still operate with some degree of what can I put it? Some degree of security, if you can say it that way. So that makes for adaptability. So a small organization that has only 5 devices, the standard specifies how you can implement cybersecurity. Next cybersecurity framework, for example, if you go to their website, they have Excel templates that have been customized for different sizes of organizations. So if your organization is a small organization, there's a template that permits you to be able to implement. And if your organization goes from small to medium, there is also an Excel template as well that you can move to. And in moving, you will be able to carry the information that you have been using while you were a small company along with you into the bigger organization. The last benefit of using industry standards is the fact that there's a provision for the benchmarks are very clear on how you should be implementing security. So if you implementing security correctly, they can check against these benchmarks and then see. And once you seem to be doing it right, then auditors will always give you a pass mark. And this is a plus. Okay, we said that baseline security, that's minimum security. How will you now customize maybe this baseline security that you adopted from some industry standard. What will happen is you would try to make sure that this standard that has been provided to you can be tweaked or tuned so that it would uniquely meet your requirements of your business. Because those standards, the way they are, they do not mean that they can be directly implemented as such to provide the maximum security. But those standards will provide you baseline security. So when you take such a standard, the first thing you want to do is you assess the needs of your company to see if the standard as it is covers for all the needs. Obviously, the standard will not cover for all the needs. You need to look at which of the controls that your company needs in order to be able to stay in security. Those controls, if they are not already implemented by the standard, you will need to flesh this out. That's modification of controls now. Once you've modified the controls, you need to do a documentation. And why are you doing the documentation? You're doing the documentation because nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. Okay. Uh, Example: NIST cybersecurity framework says that, for example, that you should configure multi-step authentication or multi-factor authentication for all of your devices. Now, um, in your company, you realize that within your company, you are still using some devices that do not support multi-factor authentication. Although you are implementing the baseline security, which is that of NIST, okay, you need to make a documentation that says that you have legacy systems or old systems that do not support multi-factor authentication. And in the practice of your business, you cannot pull out these legacy systems right away. You have to look for a solution in the future before you can replace these legacy systems. If you do not make such a documentation and an auditor shows up, the auditor will say that going by the cybersecurity framework that you profess to be using, all of your devices have multi-factor authentication. But in the course of checking, they discover that there is this computer that's still using maybe like a Windows XP and maybe does not support multi-factor authentication, and you'll be failing in this aspect. So documenting already that you need extra controls because of these legacy systems helps. One, it helps the auditors, and also it helps you. Imagine that your infrastructure of your company uh, is set up on a particular site in Manchester, for instance, and unfortunately there is an earthquake of a certain magnitude that knocks out all the locations around the place where your company is set up, and you decide that while giving time for activities to come back to normal in Manchester, you're moving temporarily down to maybe London, for instance. Okay. If you decide to move to London and then you acquire a site there and you want to set up your infrastructure, if you had not documented the customizations that you had made, you would have to start everything from the scratch. But with a properly documented implementation, you just need to go back to the documentation and then moving on from there will be easy. Sometimes you will need to provide justifications as to why you are doing such customizations, because the standard would have expected that it be done in one way, and in your particular organization, if you do it in the way that the standard wants it, it wouldn't work. So you need to also put this justification in your documentation as well. After doing this, you can review all of these customizations and see how this standard plays out for your organization, and then you can keep adapting it. The aspect of reviewing and adapting is one of the reasons why some companies that are not in IT but have seen the benefit of cybersecurity have decided to keep a cybersecurity team. It will be the responsibility of the cybersecurity team to keep reviewing the standards that you have customized from the baseline to see if they are still providing the needed security for your company or you need to modify them. A classical example for customizing security standards would be the following. Let's say that your organization has adopted the CIS benchmark for Windows Server, and this is going to be like the baseline security. Okay. How will it want to customize this, for example? It will want to customize this, for example, by saying that let us make the password policy to be stricter. The CIS benchmark would already say that you should have a password that's at least 6 characters long. If you want to make yours to be stricter, you might go ahead to say that, okay, 6 characters long is some security, but let's make it 12 characters minimum so that we have stronger passwords. Okay. The CIS benchmark might already say that let us change passwords after a period of 1 year. But you might say to yourself, okay, what I find is that most people that are working for me, they are working on a temporary basis. So they are usually on contracts that expire after 6 months. So to be on the safe side, I'm going to set up my password expiry policy to 6 months so that after 6 months, automatically everybody's password expires and they need to renew. So that if at the close of 6 months, somebody's contract expired and they have to leave, and for some strange reason you did not follow up on this particular person will not have access to the company resources after the period of 6 months automatically because you have a password policy that says that it should expire after 6 months. Moving on, operating system security has many facets. One of the facets for operating system security would be patch management. Why do we even care about patch management? A company like Microsoft, for instance, that makes products like Microsoft Office, Microsoft Windows operating system that people use, knows that at any point in time, what they have shipped out to the market should represent the best of their efforts. But if between a release and a potential next release, these guys sit together and discover that, for instance, there's some vulnerability that has been discovered on the former product, or that there is a feature that is not working well on the former version of the operating system, they might come up with a solution for this. And when they come out with a solution for this is not a total makeover of the operating system that you already have. Since it is not a total makeover, they would not want to say that it is a new version. They will want to say that this is an update or a slight upgrade. What they will do is they will put this together in the form of piece of code that they will call a patch, and they will release it on their website where it is downloadable. And now they can pass out a communique or they can put it out on their website that we have realized that there is this feature in your current Windows, maybe you're using Windows 7, that is not working as it should, or that is vulnerable to such and such attack. We have a patch that's available for this. Please download this, and then your system will be up to date. Again, they know for a fact that this would require some competence, okay? And they try to make your life easier for you by making sure that this this uh this this patch that's available online, you can actually search for it yourself and then download it. Windows will do this using what they call the Windows Update feature. With the Windows Update feature, for those of you who are aware, you can configure it such that automatically it would search for new updates that have been released from the Windows Store, and then it would download this and automatically install for you. You can have that option. The other option, which is also possible, is you can actually search for this update automatically, and then you would notify whoever is the user or the administrator of the current computer to apply these updates. And if it were to be the case, whenever you apply these updates, it would be good practice to schedule a reboot so that the updates that have been applied because of this patch that has been downloaded and installed should take effect at some point. Okay. For most companies that have systems that are running most of the time, you do not want such an update to take place during the workday. It might disturb other ongoing operations. So companies tend to schedule this kind of updates towards the weekend, for instance, or towards a day that the company has noticed that on this particular day, operations are not usually intense. So companies adopt different standards when it comes to this. Usually, this will be the responsibility of someone that's working in IT support, but it would also be as a result of a consultation that is led by the cybersecurity team that makes for the fact that we should keep aside Friday evenings or Saturday mornings for such an update. This is done slightly differently on Linux. On Linux, which is a command line friendly operating system, which supports the fact that you could do most of the things on the command line instead. I mean, Windows has this option, but one thing that people know for sure is that Windows came up with the GUI thing rather quickly to make life easy for people. Okay, Linux is more like a kind of operating system that is more suited for experts who have certain technical competence. So on Linux, for instance, uh, the responsibility is that of either the device user or of the administrator. And the way you do this by typing commands to retrieve the latest package information, and then you type some more commands to be able to apply this. The command to retrieve the latest package information out there on the internet will be sudo apt-get update. And once you've done sudo apt-get update, you can go ahead now to do a sudo apt-get upgrade for any packages that have been found to be installed. And while these installations are happening, it's important to take a look at the logs, because as the installations are happening within your command line system, the feedback will be written to you to tell you whether this is going well or you need to install something else for this to go well. So it's always important to have a look. Any questions this far? Okay, so the other facet of operating system security will be that of system hardening. With system hardening, we are basically trying to reduce the attack surface so that attackers have a harder chance getting to us. The way we do hardening can vary, but one of the things that we can do in terms of hardening is to look at software and services that we are not using them, and then we uninstall this. It's the same with our telephones, pretty much. Uh, a lot of times we get telephones that already have some pre-installed applications, and those applications are running all the time and they are consuming memory. Truth be told, sometimes we don't need some of these applications. And because we don't need some of these applications, we are not even careful to look after these applications. If I am sure that most of the time when your telephone notifies you that they've been some applications that need an upgrade or an update, sometimes you would just ignore this, right? Was someone asking a question? Um, okay, let me see, because I was sure that I sent you the slides this morning. Okay, I see. Just give me a moment. Let me. Mm, I'm guessing that would be the same with you, but Sule already has. Uh, okay, I see. Yeah, but what you have now is the most up to date version. So, Emmanuel, you should have those slides now. Okay, so I'm going back. So I was talking about the hardening in terms of software that are not necessary. Okay, um, maybe your phone that you're using right now was given to you as a present, and it was given to you as a present by your brother, who is this kind of person that is very busy, so he tends to forget that he has to take exercises every Friday or every Saturday. So he decided and installed an application that reminds him of this. And he had been using this for a while. And the day he decides to hand this off to you, he goes to this application and then turns off the reminder. But the application is still there, anyways. And he gives this device to you. You've been using this device for 1 year now, but you never use this application. This application is outdated. A vulnerability has been found on this application. The the one who developed this application has already prepared an update and it is out there on Play Store. But because you don't use this application, you care less about it. Okay, the patch is out there, but you've not installed it. So what is going to happen? Uh, Malicious intended persons who know that this application used to be vulnerable could find a way to get to your application, to your phone, and then they would discover that maybe you are still using such an application in this outdated version. Since there is a way to abuse this outdated version, they would abuse this, and then it will compromise your security. And why is this happening? This is simply because you kept using the phone with this application, but you don't even know that you're using the application. What hardening would recommend that you should do in such an instant is take a look at each of the applications that you have on your phone, especially those that were installed, because the most devices will come with a default list of applications that is recommended. Look at the grouping of applications that have been installed and ask a question. Do I know what this application is doing? Do I know what this application is doing? And so on. If there's an application that you don't know what it is doing, do a Google search. There's ChatGPT now to permit you get some help. See what that application is meant to be doing. If you see that what this application is meant to be doing does not appeal to you, carefully uninstall this. That means you have fewer applications to look after and you would be safe or safer. So removing, yes, please. Mhm. For those pre-installed applications that cannot be uninstalled, chances are that there are other applications that need to function and use these ones. That's why they are there. So what you need to do there is each time your phone notifies you that there is an upgrade of version of operating system or of applications that need to be updated, you need to take an action by allowing that this should happen. Usually, it will come with a notification that it will take 1 GB or it will take 1 hour for this update to happen. 1 hour looks like a lot of time. So if I were you and I see such, I would go ahead and allow it. The good thing is that these updates, folks know that you are in a particular time zone. And so averagely, because of this knowledge, in that time zone, this is about time to sleep or time to rest. So before you sleep, you can authorize that this update takes place while you sleep. And you get up in the morning and everything has been updated. And that helps you to stay safe. Did I answer your question? Okay, that was one of the key actions. The other key action is you can lock down host firewalls so that you permit only essential ports on your devices and the services that should run on these essential ports. This is one of the ways that you can go about this as well. Lots of lots of time we are using computers and phones in the default state. The computers and the phones have some of the ports open to permit certain applications to use them. But uh, as an expert user, I would say that not all of these ports should be open. Again, a simple Google search can help you stay ahead of this. What are the essential ports on my computer? What are the essential ports that my phone should have open? It will show you a listing. And whatever is not there is not essential. And you can ask a follow-up question, how do I close up this? You would get help on how to close this. For most companies that you will work there as a cybersecurity person, they have software with properly designed graphical user interfaces that can permit you to actually see the ports that are open and the ports that you may close. So it will just be clicking this one to turn it off, clicking this one to turn it off. For you as an individual, this may not mean a lot, but for a company, this means a lot. Um, the other thing is to disable default accounts and passwords. Okay. Uh, let me talk a little bit about this default accounts thing. I worked in GHS, and in GHS, there is this lab technician who thinks that we are still in the 15th century. He thinks that guys are not very security aware. So he comes to the lab, he gets one of his old modems, old wireless routers from the house. I'm sure that router was sent to him like in 1990 something. And then he brings it to the to the campus, and then he uses an Ethernet cable, connects it to the switch, and then plugs it into the wireless router. And the moment he plugged it, he turned the router on. Immediately, the router created a wireless network. And this wireless network is open as in open. So if you come around that place with a telephone and you turn on your Wi-Fi, you'll be able to pick up the signals coming from this wireless router. And when you just click on that signal, automatically you join. And when you join, the good thing for GHS was that they used to pay for Camtel's internet package, which is unlimited access to internet. You can download anything, watch movies, stream, and all or whatnot. And this is what this guy carefully put out there for everybody. To him, he was solving the problem for colleagues that are not tech savvy, so that when these colleagues come in, they can wirelessly connect to this, so that he does not have to go to their devices to use the administrative credentials to set it up for them. He created one problem, he solved one problem, but he created an even bigger one. Over time, students realized this. So students will sneak out of their houses on Saturdays and show up, and they will come and stand at the window of the lab. Many of them, you know, when you just come, you will not know what is happening. But when you go closer, you would realize. So when I got into the lab, I realized that this is what was happening. I realized that this network was open. And so I just went to my computer and I looked for the IP address of this router. When I looked for the IP address of this router, I tried to log into the back end of this router. Do you know what I realized? The credentials were admin. That's the username, admin, password, admin. I just logged in. When I logged in, I saw a crazy lot of things going on. There's so many people connected. So the first thing that I did was I changed the password from admin to something stronger. And then the next thing that I did was that since the wireless network that this router created was open, I locked it down so that it will require now a password. I set up a password and then I shared this password with the lab technician and told him that any of those teachers that are always using the free Wi-Fi, if they come around here and they are complaining that they cannot use the free Wi-Fi, give them this password and they will monitor this password. After every 3 months, we can change the password so that some of the teachers should not go ahead with this silly niceness and hand out the password. Some of them will be stupid enough to hand it out to students. So because of that, I locked it down somehow. And the number of people that used to show up at the window greatly reduced. And this was good practice. We had saved the day. Imagine most of the computers inside the lab were connected to this same network. Imagine that there was an ill-intentioned somebody who had access to this. If you have access to this, then you have access to the entire network. Imagine that I have access to the entire network and have access to that admin console. I can go from that admin console and start installing malicious applications on each of the computers that are in that lab. This guy saw it like this was very complicated, that it cannot happen. But he does not know that somewhere hidden in Boya, in a certain village, is a genius who is training himself for this kind of activity. And you will not know until the day he's given the opportunity. Now let's go towards anti-malware protection and look at strategies that exist. In terms of anti-malware, you have two main approaches to protect against malware. There is what we call the signature detection, and there is also what we call the heuristic detection, or you can also call it behavioral detection. These two these two operate differently. We will try to look at how each one operates to understand this difference because this knowledge you need it for your exam. If you look at the diagram to my right, you would see that in terms of detection, you have the option of signature detection, where that is the category in which you have the antivirus, and you have the heuristic or behavioral detection, which is the category in which you have the endpoint detection and response, or you have the extended detection and response. Windows already has a Windows Sentinel, for instance, already has a package that can provide EDR and XDR for you. So if you are working in a company as a cybersecurity expert, sometimes your department might be the one that's responsible for looking after the EDR and the XDR. So you would need to have basic knowledge on what these are to be able to, operate. So we'll talk about this in a bit. Let's start off with signature detection. With signature detection, this uh, let me say, how do I put it? An alert. Okay, be alert. This is cryptography in application. So I'm going to be talking a bit of cryptography here. So watch out. Most applications that have been written, okay, they have a unique identity when you hash the application. Remember, we talked about hashing, where we said a hash is is a an output that you get by passing an application through an application or a file through a function, a one-way function that generates a fixed size digest. This hash, we said they are unique. What this means is that if I take a file and hash it, and then I take that same file and add, maybe the file was a Windows file in which I had written a letter and modified one word inside this file and hash it again, the hashes will now be different. Every application that has been written, you can compute a hash for it. So that is how guys who share applications through the internet verify that the version of the application that you have is the one that they have actually written. So they will get the application, write it, produce the hash, calculate it, and then put it on the internet and ask you to download. When you download, they will ask you to also run the hash, to compute the hash, and check that the value that you get is the same value that they gave to you on the internet. If these values agree, it means that between uploading this application on the internet and you downloading it, everything has been safe. That's what it means. Everything is safe. It's safe for you to use. Yeah, it's safe for you to use. So, uh, when you install applications on your computer, each of these applications come also with a hash. Part of the responsibility of the cybersecurity department is to look for hashes of applications that the company is using and to write them to a particular file. They call it a database of hashes. So that each time any of these applications that the company has installed is being used, you can quickly compute the hash and compare with the various hashes that you have in the database. If this hash matches one of these that are considered to be safe, okay, it is safe enough for use. If the hash that you compute does not match, then it is unsafe. If the approach, if that is your approach. So the one approach is, let's keep a hash of all applications that are safe to use, in which case we compute the hash and compare. If it matches, it is safe. The other approach is, let's keep a hash of applications that are not safe to use. What this means is that if I compute a hash and it matches, then in this case, this application is not safe. So you see, there's two possibilities there: blacklisting and whitelisting. In whitelisting, we want to keep hashes of applications that are safe to use. In blacklisting, we are keeping hashes of applications that are not safe to use. Most cybersecurity companies will operate with the blacklisting approach, where the hash that you keep is the hash of the application that you don't want. So what happens? If an application that is malicious gets installed and the hash pops up and matches your blacklist, then you quarantine this particular application and you take further action. But if an application is running, it has a hash, and the hash does not match any of the hashes in your blacklist, you can consider that this is safe. I say that you can consider that it is safe, but does it mean that it is safe? Not necessarily. So why is that? Any idea? Yeah, it just means that It just means that your cybersecurity department is a bit sleepy because an application might have been released and the hash for this application is available, and everybody on the internet knows that this application is not safe, and then your company has not updated its blacklist. Since you've not updated your blacklist, then you will not be able to catch this application, and in this case you're unsafe. So one of your responsibilities as a cybersecurity personnel within a company might be that you should look after the blacklist to update it from time to time so that you stay safe. The downside to this approach is that you must first of all know that an application is unsafe, put in its hash in your blacklist before you can stop such an application from being used on your systems. That's the downside of this. Now, to complement this downside as a complementary approach, there is what we call the behavioral detection that comes into force. With behavioral detection, what happens is that we don't want to care too much about the hash. We want to care rather about how this application that we have installed is operating. Safe practice is that applications that have been installed will do what they are meant to do. Imagine that you just installed Microsoft Office, and when you run Microsoft Office, this is the behavior that you have. Microsoft Office is running, and then all of a sudden, there's a there is a game that you did not know existed that pops up for you to play. This is not expected behavior, right? This is abnormal. So, because this is abnormal, then you would know that this is coming shortly after the installation of Microsoft Office. Therefore, the Microsoft Office that you install like that is not safe for use. How we know this is because we are looking at normal behavior of Microsoft Office, and then we've seen that our own Microsoft Office is behaving a little not like it should. That is behavioral synthesis in play. Uh, Cybersecurity guys have thought about this and have decided to automate this. So there are applications that automatically monitor every application that you install and see if each of these applications is doing what they should be doing. If they are not doing what they should be doing, they will flag it that this application is not doing what they should be doing so that you can uninstall it or you can quarantine it. That's what behavioral detection is about. In this category of behavioral detection, you have EDR and XDR. So we'll talk about EDR and XDR shortly. To be able to understand EDR, let's take an analogy. You have a monitoring device in your home, and the monitoring device is connected to a monitor. And you can actually sit in this monitor, which has video footage of a room in your house and see what is happening in the room. Okay? If someone that is not meant to be in that room shows up there, this monitoring device will be able to pick up the image and will be able also to signal. I'm talking hypothetically, actually. Will be able to signal to you that there is a person in this room that should not be there. This monitoring device has done two things for you. Number one, it has signaled to you that there's somebody in there that should not be there. Number two, it has also shown you a video of what this person has been doing there. And so you can take action. That's exactly who EDR is, endpoint detection and response. Technically speaking, the endpoint detection and response monitors an endpoint. By an endpoint, we are referring to a memory of a computer, we are referring to a processor, we are referring to files that we call registry on a computer. So the endpoint detection and response will monitor this endpoint and then it would look at any threat that could be happening in real time, and it would notify that a threat is happening, and it can actually provide more context about this threat for you if you want to investigate, and it can even suggest to you what you can do, okay, to be able to take care of this threat that's on your system. That's what an endpoint detection and response is. In If I put it in midway language, I did not want to be very technical about this, and I did not also want to be very basic about this. That's what an endpoint detection and response system is. Also, extended detection and response. Let's go back to that analogy. Endpoint and detection permits you to look at one room only. Okay. With XDR, that monitoring system will permit you to have an overview of what is happening in all the rooms in your house. So extended detection and response actually carries data from all the endpoints, that is from all computers that are in your network, from all memories that are actually engaged in your network, and gives you a snapshot of what is happening on each of the computers so that you can take an action once and for all, and it affects every computer in the network. So when you use endpoint detection and you use extended endpoint detection, you are using what we call layered security. So you don't want to miss anything. If you miss something at the level of the network, you should be able to catch it at the level of the computer that you are currently working on. At the level of the network, you can use extended detection and response. At the level of the, the host computer that you are currently using, you can use endpoint detection and response. Another tool or technique that you can use to fight against malware is what we call sandboxing. Okay, with sandboxing, this is what happens. Uh, you suspect that there is an application that one of your workers has installed that may not be doing good to the company. Okay, what the recommended practice here is that you would set up a virtual machine, run the same application that your colleague has installed inside the virtual machine and observe its behavior. If you observe its behavior and see that it is safe, then you can allow them to keep using it. But if you observe the behavior within the virtual machine and see that it is not safe, then you can go ahead and uninstall it from the computer of your colleague. The fact that you first of all run this inside a virtual machine that is not able to infect the rest of your network is what we are referring to as sandboxing. Yes, right on. Mhm, mhm. Okay, this is how I answer this question. It has possible angles to come from. Number one, a colleague will not walk up to you straight up on your first day and have you examine their computer. Okay, you've been around for some time, and then you are requested by the colleague to see if they are vulnerable to the internet, right? A good place to start from, number one, is take a stock of each of the applications that this colleague is running on their computer. Okay? If you take a stock of this, within the company, there is what we call a set of applications that you are allowed to use. Okay. If any of these software that you took stock of is not on this list of software that you should be allowed to use, that is the first place that you want to start from. No, not necessarily. Yeah, you do a visibility check to see what they have that is not on the list. Yeah. So from there, you can point out the ones that they are using that are not on the list. The next step is you do a Google search, right? You take the name of the application. What is this application meant to do? It will tell you what the application should be doing. And then you will see if your colleague should be having it or not. Okay? Yeah, that's a good way to go about. You actually start discussing sandboxing in very serious situations. For instance, there's a colleague that wants you to install an application for them. This application is not amongst the allowed list of applications, but the colleague says that this application is very necessary for them to use. Okay. Usually, when they reach out to you, the first thing is you need to verify how necessary this application is. By Google searching about the application, you know how the application works. Next, you need to verify that uh, this application is actually safe. That's when you will bring up the sandboxing thing. Okay. And then you run in the sandbox and then you can know. Again, whoever is doing sandboxing, there's a chain of command. If you are a junior or a beginner, right? This is not the responsibility that your cybersecurity boss or line manager will tell you to do because this is mid-level or expert level. So anything that comes to you, first do a preliminary investigation. Google searching is free, right? Checking with AI is free. Document what you find. When you read what you find, you will know guidance whether this is safe or is not safe. So when you determine that it is either safe or it's not safe, you make a short report. Then you can check with your line manager. This colleague wants this application. It is not on the list of allowed applications, but the application is safe by my research. Would you permit, would you give me permission to let them install this or not? Your line manager will be the one to take that decision for you. So usually they will say that you escalate. So within cybersecurity, if you are a junior, they will give you a job description of a junior, of what you can do as a junior without asking somebody. But anything that's out of that scope, you need to escalate. But you will not just take it because it's out of that scope and escalate, right? If it is out of your scope, you can at least research about it, know what it is, write a small report, and escalate to your senior. And then your senior will check if it is in their level, they can action it or they can tell you to action it. If they tell you to action it, there is a trace on the system, right? The colleague who was asking for this would have raised a ticket. You have a ticketing software. You know what a ticketing software is? Yeah. They would have used a ticketing software to raise a ticket. And then now this ticket came to you. You have consulted with your boss and forwarded this ticket, and then your boss has assigned this ticket now to you. You go ahead and action it. If something goes wrong, it's not you that will be responsible. It's your boss because it went through the chain of command. You did your own finding and forwarded to him. You even have evidence inside the ticketing system because the ticketing system allows you to write notes. What you found out, you wrote notes. If you wrote notes and the notes were that this application is not safe, and your boss says that go ahead and implement it, you will say it, you will write there, application has been considered to be unsafe, but line manager recommends that it should be actioned. And you action it, right? So if there is someone to be held, it will not be you, it will be the boss. You are not shifting responsibility. You are actually taking responsibility. Yes, you've shifted the liability, but you've taken responsibility for your actions. And so your boss has to take responsibility for his own action as well and get prosecuted. All right. I think this is maybe towards the last slides for the first session before we get into the hands-on. So in terms of application control methods, you can have what we call allow list and deny list. Um, the allow list is kind of the white listing approach that I was talking about, and the deny list is kind of the blacklisting approach. With the allow list, what you do here is that you look at the functioning of the company and see applications that will enhance the company's work. You investigate each of these to be sure that they are safe. If you are sure that they are safe, then you can go to the company profile and say that these applications are considered safe for use. So if someone needs to do a task and needs one of these applications, since they are safe for use, they are free to use this. Okay? In the deny list approach, you can do it the other way around. You instead go to the company portal and say that this application and this application and this application are malicious. They are not good for use. So do not install them. If somebody wants to install Microsoft Teams on their computer, for instance, they will just go to that list and check is Teams amongst the denied list. If Teams is not there, then they will install it. If Teams is there, they should refrain from installing it. That's the allow and deny list approach, pretty much. So last slide, it's about the importance of logging. Do you know what logs are, for starters? Logging is writing logs. Yes, LOGS. Okay, let's go from the traditional perspective. As an instructor, a teacher, or a nurse in Cameroon, when you show up at your place of work, you have a plan to execute that day. You will write inside a book, a log book, that this is the plan. I have to do this and this and this. And then you will go ahead and do the things. The ones that you actually did, you will note that you did this one, and you did not do this one. And you will also say the outcome of what you did, and then you go away. Why are you doing that? For verification, for tracking. If you are not there tomorrow and someone needs to continue, they can have a look at your logbook and see where you left off, and they'll continue from there. Also, if a parent calls and says that my child is not being taught in class because the parent has the scheme of what should be taught, you can invite the parent to school. When the parent shows up and goes to the vice principal's office, you show up with the logbook and you present. This is what was meant to be taught yesterday. It was taught, And if you are skillful enough, like a Gen Z teacher, you would have made a snapshot of the board, the dates, and everything, and put it inside there. That's evidence for them. And they can go back home and bite their daughter who is skipping classes and not you. That's logging. Computers and applications also do logging. When right now, when you turn on your Windows computer and then you put your username and password, it made a log of this information. If you put your password the first time wrong, it will also log that you have put the password wrong. When you finally get it right, it will say that you got it right at this time. This information is available. You are probably not just aware of where to find it, but it is there. How can this be useful? Any ideas? Sule, yes. The importance of logging. Do you remember anything from that our session? Yes, logging information. Mhm. Okay, now there you are talking about logging into an application to a website. Okay, but what we are focusing on here right now is the fact that every transaction that you are doing with an application, the application is actually capturing information from you. From Yes, it's recording this. Mhm. So the way that this can be useful is the following. Okay, Babila and Sule. Now, you left your computer in your house, okay? And the computer has a password. Thankfully, Sule's own now does. I hope yours does, Babila. Yes, that's good. That's even good practice. Okay. Imagine that you left your computer in the house, and I don't hate Nigerians though. And luckily for us, we don't have one on the meeting today, right? There is a malicious Nigerian, for instance. I'm only using the Nigerian case because, well, on the internet, Indians and Nigerians seem to be like that. I don't hate Nigerians. Okay. This guy came over to visit with you, and while visiting with you, he was looking over your shoulder and trying to pick your password and didn't quite catch the exact characters. You go away and he thinks about what the characters could be, and then he tries to log in. He will try different combinations of passwords, right? When he will try it, it will fail. He will try it, it will fail, try it, it will fail. And after that, he will shut down the computer and go away. If this guy is not IT savvy, he will think that you will not know, right? But there are system files in Windows where you can actually go to, and then you would get a tracking of transactions, of login transactions. The login transactions will actually be like this. On the 24th of May, there were 10 failed login attempts on this computer between 9 a.m. and 9:50. That's some elaborate bit of information, right? If you are someone who is pragmatic about the way you go about your life, you will know where you were between that time. And you will know that you were not in the house. And then you will probably know that since you were not in the house and your computer was at home, You had a guest, and your guest was Mr. X. And if you know that this guy has been funny, then you can begin to attribute these failed login attempts to the person. That's actually what cybersecurity guys in the company will be doing when there is an incident that happened, or when there is tentative, like the Frenchman would say, tentative of an incident happening. The attacker will not just get right in the first instance. They will try a couple of things and fail. And this failing will leave traces on the system captured in logs that can help you connect the dots together. So this is something that you can totally do. So is this explanation making it clearer what some of the things cybersecurity guys will be doing will be? Because uh, before I got into cybersecurity, I used to think that cybersecurity was about hacking only, because that's what was in the movies. But when I started exploring, I saw that there are interesting applications within cybersecurity that are not necessarily about hacking. It's also about defending, it's about gathering information, it's about good practice. And this is one of those. So, in most of the entry level to mid level positions, these are the kind of things that you will do. There is an entire application that they call a security information and event management system that's responsible for helping you with such investigations. What is a security information and event management system does is that it is a centralized database or centralized monitoring device that can actually pull logs from all the different computers that are connected to your company's network, and it will put them together in one place. That way, you are able to look at all the different logs and try to make meaning out of these logs. If there is an incident that has happened, or there's an incident that is about to happen. It can help you both ways. If an incident already happened, there will be traces from there, from the logs, that can help you do a reconstitution de fait. If the incident has not yet successfully happened, you can already see traces from within the logs of where this incident could have come from. And then you will ask yourself, do we have any controls that can guard against this? Do we have multi-factor authentication, for instance, that is a control to guard against this? Do we have a firewall to guard against this? If you don't yet have this, and there are traces already on your system, you can recommend to hierarchy, see, I have seen evidence from our system that somebody could have succeeded to do this if they had the chance. And we don't currently have a defense against this. My recommendation is, let us set up this defense. And if your management takes this serious, they'll investigate and confirm, and then give the budget for this to be done. So I'm going to, okay, Babida, before you continue, do you know that there are companies that will hire you because you have knowledge of Active Directory like this to come and work as an Active Directory or Windows administrator? That's your job, like that. Mhm. Yes, you need a certification from Microsoft Azure, from this thing, Microsoft Azure's certification portal, to show that you are grounded in Azure, and that will be your job. Okay, great. So let's jump down to where the questions are, see what the questions expect of us. Good. Mhm. So, for this Active Directory part, can you scroll down a little bit? Scroll down again to the section on the questions. It actually shows you how you can access Active Directory, right? Yeah, and a couple of things. So let's start with the questions. Go up to the tables. I think you might have the possibility of finding those answers there. There was a table. Yes, there. Okay, go and try it out. Let's see. The question is, which group administrates all computers and resources in a domain? Next question. Tom PC. It's about naming conventions. Scroll up, scroll up again. Yes, in that paragraph, you see that last paragraph? Yes, that one. Machines. Read from there. I believe it would give you a clue. Scroll down, I believe. Scroll down to the question. Uh-huh. Named Tom-PC. Put it there and add the dollar sign. Well done. Those are types of containers. It would be about this thing, organizational units, and the other one, security groups. Just go down, down to the bottom. Yes, there. You have OUs. What are OUs? OUs are organizational units, right? What do you use organizational units for? If you want to apply policies to users and computers, okay? And then security groups, on the other hand, they grant permissions, right? So go down to the question again and read the question and see what it says. Mhm. What would that be? I know your problem. Your problem is that you're looking at the answer space is long, right? It's an organizational unit, I believe. Yes, OU, that's the meaning of OU, right? Organizational unit. Take off the S. Okay. Organizational ITS. I think change the organizational, maybe the first time you spelled it, was it a Z or an S that you used? No, then use a Z. Change the S to a Z. Yeah, and then try to submit now. So in Active Directory terminology, they will always refer to them as OUs for short. The OU is full for organizational unit. So that's it there. If you want to apply policies to users and computers and to that will include specific configurations, you would use organizational units. Okay, let's move. Let's see how far we can go. Managing users in Active Directory. So your first task as a new administrator is to check the existing Active Directory organizational units and users, as some recent changes have happened to the business. You have been given the following organizational chart. So if you look at that organizational chart, you have the management OU, and in the management OU, you have the general manager, Daniel, that is overseeing three different OUs, uh, marketing, sales, and IT. Okay. What is your task actually? Read. Deleting extra OUs and users. Read. You would find out your task there. Do you know how you can approach this? You need to launch the virtual machine. You need to launch the virtual machine. So go to task. I think task one will give you the instructions on how you will see in task one how to launch the machine. You're not in, yes, just scroll. No, not from there. Up, up, up. There, you finish task one, right? Click on task one. Task two, rather. Task two, sorry. Task two. Scroll down. Yes, start machine. Now go down to the to task. Where were we? Were we on task three or task four? Okay, go now to task four. When you will open that, it will open a Windows computer that has Active Directory on a domain with all of those departments. You will see it. Yes, so that is what is happening. You have an organizational unit that you don't need, but as a security measure, they have configured it in such a way that you should not delete it without knowing that you are actually deleting it. Okay. So, but because you have gotten clearance from your line manager that you should delete it, you will go ahead and delete it. So you have to go and effect that change. So once this thing opens, we'll be able to. So just keep reading through. Let's go down. Waiting. So by default, this will show you some additional containers. Mhm. Yes, Babila, if you look at the taskbar, you should allow. If you look at the taskbar of the computer that has pulled up now on the right. For starters, you can click on this hide. You see the stop sharing thing. There is the hide after it. Yeah, click on the hide. If you look at the taskbar, you will see the Internet Explorer and then the file manager. And then after that, you have something that looks like a disk. That one. Click on that one. Did you click it? Good. Now, this looks like what you had above there, right? So which department is listed there that is not listed in the thing? Mhm. And development. Good, good. That's the one that you have to delete. Scroll down on the left-hand side, you will see the question there for you to answer. Scroll down to the question section. Okay. So for starters, let's go and delete that first. Yes. Do you remember how to delete? They say you should click on it and right click. Yes. Take delete. Good. That is the warning. Are you sure that you want to delete the organizational unit named research and development? Take yes. Do you see it? That's the error. You do not have sufficient privileges to delete this because the object has been protected from accidental deletion. Okay. So how do you fix that? Click OK. So the instruction was given to you above on how to fix that. That's what I need you to use. Mhm. The organizational unit of interest. The organizational units, where are they? If you click on, just go, if you click on THM, do you see the THM? Yes, click on THM. Click on that one. Yes. What did they say? You try to right click. Try to right click. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. What does it say? Select. Mhm. You're supposed to uncheck protect from accidental deletion. You should apply, apply, and then okay. And then go back there now and try to delete. Just go there to research and development now. Try to right click now and delete. Yes. Just right click and try to delete now. Do yes. Now the delete was possible, right? So one of the responsibility when you're working as a cybersecurity guy, they might require that you should delete a particular organizational unit. So you would, as it is expected that you would have to know that this particular organizational unit that you're about to delete by default has been configured such that you cannot delete this by error. Okay. So you have to expressly choose to delete this, which is what you have just achieved. All right. It's 8 o'clock, but I can spare 10 more minutes, after which I'll be gone. Okay, so I take it that you continue the activity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So what you can do is you can delete that Kali and then set it up again. If you look inside the WhatsApp group, if you look inside the WhatsApp group in the cybersecurity WhatsApp group, right? I have recorded a video, and that video is also on YouTube on how you can set up Kali. So you can delete this Kali and watch that video step by step and set up this Kali, and you will be good to go. Okay, I have not uploaded it yet. I'll upload it and then I'll upload it and then I'll send you the link. Sule. I think I have the video on my computer right now. I can try to. I I kept, telling myself that I would take time and edit the video, but I got so busy. So it looks like I will just upload it as it is without any editing because I'm supposed to join a particular meeting not long from now. That's why I said I would leave the meeting at 10 minutes past 8. Um, Truth be told, I cannot use the YouTube alone in the future because that would mean that I will record too many videos, right? Yeah, which is something that, okay, for starters, let me stop this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so what you can do is you can delete that Kali and then set it up again. If you look inside the WhatsApp group, if you look inside the WhatsApp group in the cybersecurity WhatsApp group, right? I have recorded a video, and that video is also on YouTube on how you can set up Kali. So you can delete this Kali and watch that video step by step and set up this Kali, and you will be good to go. Okay, I have not uploaded it yet. I'll upload it and then I'll upload it and then I'll send you the link. Sule. I think I have the video on my computer right now. I can try to. I I kept, telling myself that I would take time and edit the video, but I got so busy. So it looks like I will just upload it as it is without any editing because I'm supposed to join a particular meeting not long from now. That's why I said I would leave the meeting at 10 minutes past 8. Um, Truth be told, I cannot use the YouTube alone in the future because that would mean that I will record too many videos, right? Yeah, which is something that, okay, for starters, let me stop this.